All right. So no matter where you're at, stop there, and we want to try and add a couple to the list. But first off, do you remember the average order for Cutco?
The average.
Mm-hmm. How much was the average order? We put it on the board earlier. $200.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, now you know, right? So Cutco, it's not an empathy item like Girl Scout cookies. Like, people aren't going to buy it just because they know you. People will definitely buy Cutco, but why will they buy Cutco? Yeah, it's a quality product for sure. And it's guaranteed forever, right? So, and is there anything wrong with doing business with people that you know? No, right? Not when it's a great product. You know, if it was like, I don't know, Walmart knives, yeah, probably wouldn't feel comfortable with it. But what I love about selling Cutco is that people who got it from me a long time ago, like, still have it, they still love it, they still use it every day. They talk about how awesome it is, and you can feel confident with that too. And isn't that how pretty much every business opens, you know? So if you think about it, if you were a hairdresser, you opened up your own salon, who would your first people be? Friends and family, right? If you were a doctor and you opened up your own practice, who would your first people, your patients be? Friends and family, right? If you were a contractor and you opened up your own roofing business or anything like that, you'd probably start working on friends and family's houses and then network from there. If you were a lawyer, your first clients, probably friends and family, you know? So really, you want to think about it, you're just starting a business, you know? And obviously we're helping you do all that, and it's not as crazy as any of those things would be, but think of your sample kit as like your own little mini business, you know? And think of it like a restaurant. If you opened up your own restaurant, how many people would you invite to come eat at your restaurant? As many as possible. You had like a big grand opening where all your friends and family came, so they'd go tell everybody how awesome the food was, and that's what we're doing too. So we want to open up your sample kit and show it to as many people as possible. So whether or not they buy Cutco, that's okay. And you should at least show it to everybody that you know, because if they do buy it, they get a great deal, because how long is it going to last them? Forever, right? And if they don't buy, you still get paid. And I'd feel silly if somebody I knew bought Cutco from someone else. You know what I mean? That wasn't me. Yeah. So just because I was either too nervous or too worried to show it to them. So some people that pop into your head, like your doctor as an example, like they're over 30, they work full time, obviously. Like, you might not feel comfortable practicing with them right away, but the list that we're going to work on, this isn't just a list for this weekend. This is a list forever. Like, there was people that I wrote down on my assignment the first day that I didn't see for like a year and a half, like my dentist. Yeah. Like, I wrote her down on day one of training. Well, I think it was probably when I was at home, but I, didn't call her until I didn't work up the guts to call her about the knives, until like a year and a half later. And then I did, and then she got Cutco, and I wish I would have called her sooner, But this list is something you can use, forever. So that's why you want to work hard on this. So people won't buy it just because they know you, but what will they let you do just because they know you? Practice the presentation with them. Yeah, and practice is the best part. You can go really slow. You can mess up. You can get really, really good at your presentation before you ever even have to see somebody that you don't know quite as well. And you'd be surprised at how many people you could really practice with. Fortune Magazine did a study. They said the average person, by the time they turn 18, already knows over 1,000 people by name. And how many friends do you have on Facebook? A lot, right? So I think I probably have 1,000 friends on Facebook, So, and some of you probably do too. So when you think about it that way, it's like they're probably not all over 30 and working full time, but they're probably related to somebody who is, like a parent or whatever. So if you really worked hard on it, you could probably come up with 1,000 people that are over 30 and working full time. And I've only ever seen it done one time, by the way. But Justin Lim in my office when I ran it in Bucks County literally came in with a typed list of 1,007 was what he got to. 1,007 people that were over 30 and working full time. He was up till like 3 a.m. and I don't even know if he showered, but so I don't want you to do that, but 100 would be great, So what we did earlier was just to help you to think of a couple, but I do want to do a thought jogging exercise. So because the assignment tonight is going to be come up with as many people as possible. So I want to help you to work on it for a little bit right now, and then we'll get done soon, and you'll be able to go home and work on it more. But I'm going to give you a list of thought joggers, and our goal is that you can write down an additional 2 to 3 names for each thought jogger I give you. So I'll say the thought jogger, and any name that comes into your head, you want to write it onto page 22 of your training manual. So, and then just add as many as you can. Some of the people that pop into your head, like I said, you might not want to practice with right away, and that's okay. But our goal is that you could see, a bunch in the future. And even if you don't have that many, right now, like even 5 people, I just want to let you know, if you had 5 people on your list, that would be plenty of people to work here full time forever. Now, you probably wouldn't be able to work full time like your first 2 weeks, but you see 5 people this week. That's 25 to 50 referrals because we get about 5 to 10 from each person. So that means following week, you probably see like 15 to 20 of those people, and then the following week you're seeing 40 people. So it really does build up quick. But if you want to get off to a great start right away, it starts with having a big list of people to practice with, this weekend. And because for your fast start, we're probably just going to have you see all the people you know. And then after your fast start, like after your first 10 days, we'll teach you how to contact the recommendations, So your fast start's going to be based upon tonight's assignment. So you want to work hard on this list. And don't make it an assignment, make it fun. Think about it like if you were planning a wedding, that'd be fun, right?
Yes,
and the hardest part of planning a wedding isn't putting people on the list. It's taking people off the list. I just planned my wedding, and for us, we were picked 120, and for us to get it to 120, like we had to cross off a lot of people. It was kind of depressing almost, So make this like your future wedding list, or if you ever ran for office, you'd have to come up with as many people as you could to campaign for you. So this could help out for that too. So as I give you the thought joggers, just write down as many names as you can right into your manual as I go through them. And that'll definitely make a big difference. So, and if you're like totally stuck as I'm going through these, feel free to take out your cell phone and you can kind of scroll through and be like, I didn't think of that person. So, okay, well that's But anyway, so that can help too. So, first thought jogger: family and relatives. So think about every single aunt. If you don't already have them listed, even if they live far away, because you can do a virtual presentation. So even if they live far away, like we can teach you that eventually. So every single aunt, every single uncle who's old enough. If they're married, that would be like one appointment, by the way. But every grandparent, your grandparents count, by the way. Like even if they're retired, we'll still let you practice with your grandparents, obviously. So grandparents are good. Mom and dad, they count if you didn't already put them on there. Some people are like, I can practice with my parents. It's like, yeah, definitely, of course. So, yeah, my parents got a homemaker, so definitely. And then think about your family friends. Like if you threw like a New Year's Eve party or like a family get together, like who would be there that isn't a relative? So just close your eye for a sec. Think about like the last or your high school graduation party or your anything like that. So anything where there was like a family get together. If there was a pool party, whose faces would you see that aren't relatives? And try and get a couple family friends. Family friends. For us, like every New Year's Eve, my parents like throw it's like they only invite 2 friends, but Rick and Diane come over every single New Year's Eve, and those are people who I only saw once a year, like growing up. So once again, it was somebody I wasn't comfortable seeing right away, but like after 6 months, I finally called them up and I saw them, and they only got a trimmer, but they were still nice enough to practice, and it was really fun being able to hang out with them in the summer rather than because I started in the winter, so I saw them like in the summer rather than only seeing them for New Year's Eve. So it was cool catching up, and they were so nice when I called, and it was really cool. So so family, friends, neighbors that you have right now, like who walks the dog, who borrows the sugar, what's the garbage guy's name, what's the mailman's name, who's your dog bark at the most. What about neighbors from growing up? If you moved at all recently, or if you remember any neighbors from growing up, like who did you used to play with, or whose kids did you used to play with? Think about those parents. Think about a church or synagogue, temple, any of that stuff. So anybody from there, like what's the pastor's name? What's the priest's name? The altar boy's parents? Who do you usually sit next to? If there was like a church cookout or sometimes they do like a big fair type thing. Like who would you recognize from there? Think about people your parents work with. This was a big thing for me. So my mom's a worker at the same company for like 20 years. And I used to go to Bring Your Child to Work Day all the time. Mm-hmm. So you can definitely cheat on this assignment. Here's what I did. All right. So I went home and I said, hey, Mom, how I used to go to that Bring Your Child to Work Day thing? Well, I have to come up with a list of people to practice with. They don't have to buy anything, but just to practice with. And they have to be people I've met before. So who did I meet before from your work? And then she pulled out her phone and she just like started listing them off. And I just wrote down like 20 of my mom's friends, So that was easy. I've had some representatives be like, well, if my mom knows them, I know them. And they'll just kind of borrow their mom's cell phone for the night and copy them all down. And obviously everybody in there is going to be old enough. So that's really up to you. I just kind of asked her. We also, before cell phones were, the in thing. A lot of families, like my family, we used to have like a book, like an address book with everybody's name and phone number and address in it.
That's the first thing I learned in my
Yeah. So good, that'll help. We used to have one of those like sitting right by the house phone, and I remember like all of my like before we had cell phones, like whenever I wanted to hang out with my friend Zach, I'd have to call the house and like, hey, is Zach there? And they'd put the kid on, and then we would arrange a time to hang out. So I went through there and I got all of the old like house phone numbers out of there. So I got like 20 of the kids I used to hang out with back when I was a kid, And once again, I hadn't talked to them in a while, some of them, so I didn't call all of them right away. But we just want to make this list as big as possible because the bigger the list is, the more selective that you can be with the list. So those types of people are great. So like I said, those are just some ideas for tonight. Teachers, I've literally seen 9 teachers. 9 have got Cutco, one of which was like my kindergarten teacher. So I hadn't talked to him in like 12 years. But yeah, they remembered me. Well, I was friends. I danced with the 5th grade art teacher's daughter. So in high school. So we had been friends. So I texted her and got her mom's number. I did a presentation for her mom. And then her mom had like a teacher directory for like the entire Hempfield School District where I went. So like most teachers have that, by the way. So if you see like one teacher, they can usually hook you up with all the others, or they might be able to they probably have a couple of their numbers because they hang out,
Mm-hmm.
So, but she literally gave me like 20 phone numbers I literally wrote down so what happened was on the assignment, I wrote down all of my teachers from kindergarten through high school that I could remember their name of. And when I did the presentation for Mrs. Bailey, the 5th grade art teacher, she let me borrow her directory. So I didn't have the numbers for like the first 6 months, but eventually I pulled out my manual again and I copied all the numbers over. And then I was able, and by that point I'd been doing it for 6 months. So I wasn't really that scared to call my kindergarten teacher because I was already really good at the presentations. Do you feel like after working here for like 2, 3, 4 weeks, you'll be a bit more comfortable to branch out to some of these other types of people? Definitely, right? So, yeah. So teachers, so if you see one, they could probably give you all the other numbers. You could also email a bunch of them, and I can give you a rough idea of what to say on that tomorrow. But that can help too. So teachers are great. So just listing off all your teachers. Coaches or friends from sports teams. If you ever played a sport in the past, that'd be good. I remember I used to play soccer, and we had a whole list of all the parents' numbers because if it rained, we had to call down the list and tell like the next person practice is canceled, next person practice canceled. But we had everybody's number, so I had like 20 numbers right there. And then I was a Boy Scout too, and I had a Cub Scout like list of all the other troopers and like their parents' names and all the Cub Scout leaders. So I got like 20 kids' parents, and then I got like 10 adults who were troop leaders, So think about the clubs and organizations you used to be in, and there's probably directories. I had to go through a bunch of old cabinets and stuff like that to find some of these things. So it definitely takes some time, but it can make a big difference to get some of these numbers. These are some ideas. Friends or bosses from previous jobs. So you said you did some retail before, or if you ever worked at a restaurant or anywhere like that. What was the chef's name? What was the restaurant owner's name? Who was your shift manager? Who did you see there eating all the time? Do you remember any old customers' names and random things like that? You can also do brothers and sisters friends. I have a brother who's 41, so like he has friends that are old enough already. And then I have another brother who's 26, and my brother Derek. And for him, I just said like, hey, who else do you know that's like a little bit older than you that likes to cook? And he gave me a couple of his friends, So you can also like I said, cheat tonight all you want, ask for help, and get siblings and all that stuff. Girlfriend, boyfriend's family, ex-girlfriend, ex-boyfriend's family. So I saw 3 exes. All 3 exes' parents bought Cutco, so it's pretty cool. We broke up because of their daughter, not because of me, obviously. So that's why they still bought Cutco. I didn't tell them that, but doctor. So here's 4: doctor, dentist, orthodontist, hairstylist. Yeah, get your parents to help you. That special lady doctor, that'd be a good one. Pediatrician, like any of those things, or physical therapy if you ever did that before. And then some that you might not have, but your parents will probably have. Like I just went home and looked through the fridge. We had a bunch of magnets with people's faces on them. So real estate agent, insurance agent, those types of people, their accountant, their broker. These are all, ideas for you. So it looks like you got most of the way down the left page. So there's enough room on page 22 for 100. So you already have about 40 or 50 right there, and that was like 20 minutes, So that's why I say like 20 minutes, like you could be fine. Now you just gotta get the numbers for those people. But imagine if you put another hour into this, like you'd be set up, and it can really make a big difference. So the first part of the assignment tonight, keep that open for a second, is to make the list bigger, So use all those avenues I talked about. Look on Facebook. Friends, parents is probably the biggest way you'll get a lot of these. And I have a little, with them, I usually just say like, hey, I got a new job. I'd ask you for help, but I have to talk to people who are over 30. So I was curious if I could have your house number or your mom's cell. And then I just say like, I just have to ask them a quick question. It'll only take a minute, So I just gotta ask them a quick question. It'll only take a minute, and that way they're not like, well, what are you doing it for? And you don't want to say like I'm trying to sell them knives, and that's just weird. So yeah, I just got a quick question for them. It'll only take a minute. I'd ask you, but the person has to be over 30. So what's your mom's number or your house phone number, And and that can help you to get numbers that way. So the first part of the assignment is to add as many names as possible, and a lot of times the number of names you think of is going to be bigger than the amount of numbers that you come up with, and that's okay because you can always use other avenues to get more numbers later. But we definitely want to get at least that page filled with names. How many numbers you get, that's as many as you can. So use a yearbook, by the way, like flip through your old high school yearbook, flip through a family photo album, things like that. A lot of times the number of names you come up with off the top of your head is much smaller than if you're looking at something, like flipping through your cell phone tonight and stuff like that. So the first part's the names. The second part is to get as many numbers for those people as possible. And you can use all the avenues I was talking about to do that. So the minimum I'm going to ask you to come up with for tomorrow is 10 names and phone numbers. So at least 10 phone numbers like for the names that you got. And like I said, the assignments are easy. So you could probably not put any more work into this and have 10. Like you probably already have at least 10 of those in your cell phone, right? So I make the assignments really easy so that no matter what situation all of you are in, it's like you can definitely hit it. However, you want to work hard on it. So in life, there's really a 10-80-10 rule. 10% of people do just enough to get by. And if you come up with 10, like you'll totally get by, but getting by in life is really not that exciting. It's really all you get is a buy, Now, 80% of the group, like they're really going to work on this. They're going to come up with, anywhere from 50 to 100 is usually like a good goal. And those people do great. You feel awesome. You get to be a lot more selective. Like you're probably only going to see 10 people this weekend. So if you have 100 names and numbers, you just pick your top 10% that you're most comfortable with, that you think would love the presentation. And then you just see your top 10 versus if you only have 10, you got to see those 10 people, So coming up with 50 to 100 is great. And then 10% of the group always wants to go above, beyond, and they won't even have enough room in their training manual for how many that they come up with. So the reason I want you to come up with at least 10 is because if you have at least 10 times 5 to 10 referrals is 50 to 100 leads, So that's a great start. But I'm going to give you a free pizza for 30, so I'll jot that down. Come up with at least 30. It's got to be names and phone numbers. So you already have that many names here, but definitely getting the phone numbers. So 30 names and phone numbers of people that are over 30 and working full time is free pizza, a free lunch of some kind tomorrow, if you're like a vegetarian or anything. And then what you really want to shoot for, though, is like 50 to 100. So the reason I give you free pizza for 30 is because I want you definitely to have at least 30. But 50 to 100 is awesome. Just to give you some motivation to get to at least 50, here's some people who came up with 50 who had some great things in common. Courtney Schaefer, Adam Jaffe, Georgia Price, Carlos Sarmiento, Paul Linton, Jessica Marks, Julian Bradley, Aziza Khalil, Stephen Weber, Jonathan Allen, AJ DiGaetano. All of these people had two things in common. They came up with over 50 names and numbers, and they made over $1,000 their first 10 days on the job. So I'm not saying you'll definitely make $1,000 your first 10 days on the job if you have 50 plus, but if you have 50 plus, you'll have a lot better of a chance. Yeah. So there's a direct proportion between the effort you put into tonight's work and the size of your first, second, and third paycheck and so forth. So like I said, ask yourself, if I gave you $1,000 to come up with 50 names and numbers, would you do it? Like if I put $1,000 on the table right now, it's like, and all you had to do is do that tonight and come in and grab it, that would definitely be worth it. So that's the effort that you want to put into it, as if there was $1,000 sitting in front of you to come up with like 50 to 100. So 50 to 100 is great. So we hired you because we thought you were motivated. Don't settle for mediocrity. Get at least 30 for the free pizza. If anybody thinks you have trouble hitting 10, just stay after and talk to myself or one of the other managers. So the list won't be collected, by the way, but we will glance at it just to make sure it's done. So this is just for you. You won't turn these in to anyone. So this is just for you, and you'll be the only one who ever sees these people. So remember, it's the most important thing you'll ever do with Vector. And so like I said, the record's 1,007. So if you want to go for that, that's cool. But don't, make sure you get some sleep tonight. Show up with energy tomorrow. Tomorrow's awesome, by the way. Guess which day was the hardest? Today was, because you had no idea what to expect, So tomorrow's, a lot easier. If I was teaching you, if you don't feel ready yet, by the way, that's normal. Like if I was teaching you how to drive a car, all I taught you today was how to turn on the engine and back out of the driveway, and go straight. Yeah. So tomorrow we get the rest of the learning done. So we learn the rest of the new stuff, and it's kind of like tomorrow's like the parallel parking day. So we kind of get through everything together. But by the end of the third day, you'll be ready for like rush hour traffic on the turnpike going 100 miles an hour. Like you'll be so good you can fly above the other cars, So tomorrow's awesome. Like I said, we'll do a little Modern Marbles video. You get to see a demonstration in full from start to finish. We'll practice your demonstration for sure. We'll also go over some of the competition, talk about how great Cutco is. We'll set up your schedule, set up a couple practice appointments, and you'll get to pick and choose. Like I said, the more you have, though, to pick from, the better. So reminders for tomorrow. Go ahead, flip to the very last page of the train manual. It's actually the back cover. It's actually the back cover. So yeah, day one reminders. So if you didn't already write down the benchmarks, so 10's the minimum. 10's the minimum. 30 for free pizza. So hopefully you can start there. 30 for free pizza. If you want to have a great shot at making a grand or two, you want to be thinking like 50 to 100 names and numbers. So 50 to 100, like I would write the goal is like 50 to 100. Anything above that's awesome, obviously. So that's great. And some other reminders. You need your cell phone fully charged. If your phone dies a lot like mine does, definitely bring a charger. So we're going to be making some calls tomorrow. Really simple, comfortable phone approach. I'll hold your hand through the whole thing. Great attitude. Obviously, you'll need your blue book and your training manual. I'm going to let you take those home tonight. So if you want to practice a little, I would definitely recommend that. And then make sure you're on Vector time, 15 minutes early. Don't sell anything yet, so you don't even have the prices or anything. We'll do all that tomorrow. So that's really all I got for you. So if you have any questions, just hang back and talk to me or one of the other managers. And otherwise, you guys are free to go. And yeah, that's it.